Hello everybody. I think this is going to be a quick one today. So this is a topic that is just classic CrossFit. It's mechanics, consistency, and intensity. MCI, the old phone company. Not to date myself. If you don't know what I'm talking about, well, then I just dated myself. But anyway, MCI. Mechanics, consistency, and then and only then intensity is how we always say that's the path that you should institute for yourself and your clients, your members, whatever it happens to be when you're pursuing CrossFit, or a lot of things in life actually that require doing something complicated and doing it quickly. And this might seem like a topic that is more fitting for a novice or beginner, but truth be told, I think after a fair number of years have gone by, if you've been around for a bit, it can be easy to disregard this and think that you're above the law on this, and most of the veterans that have been around for a bit probably need to come back and just make sure that they are paying attention to mechanics, consistency, and then intensity again, because there's a lot of us that probably should strip weight off the bar and not worry about trying to go faster and worry about trying to move better, worry about improving your technique, and that will serve you very well in the long run. So if you're unfamiliar with it, that's it. Step 1, mechanics. Step 2, consistency. And then step 3, intensity. And I know there are some of us, I'm guilty of this. When I first got into CrossFit back in 2005, I decided to go with step 3, intensity, as number 1. And that was it. Didn't care that I was a beginner. Didn't care I didn't have great technique. Didn't care that I didn't know that I was doing. Had to go fast, had to try to climb the leaderboard, had to try to beat my buddies, and that intensity was the number one most important thing. And that was very short-sighted. That was a bad call, and luckily it didn't, result in me hurting myself or doing something dumb. So mechanics, consistency, and intensity. What are we talking about? Mechanics should be the novices and the intermediates and a lot of advanced athletes. Your world should revolve around it, right? Moving well. Mechanics, the points of performance of any particular movement, be it rowing or body weight movements or barbell movements. It's how you actually do the movement. The points of performance, the mechanics, the technique, etc., etc. And you improve with the mechanics with just practice. Repetitions, time and attention, just practice, get in reps, and don't get in meaningless reps, but get in reps in which you're trying to pursue virtuosity, right? Doing the common uncommonly well. And so you're going to either need to video yourself and compare how you move based upon an ideal video and see do the two line up and how can you improve it, or have somebody watching you who knows what they're doing and they can give you some helpful feedback, some critiques, and just get better until the points of performance aren't something that you need to think about because they're kind of becoming in your DNA. When you reach down to grab that bar for the deadlift, you understand that the weight should be mid-foot, the barbell should be near the shins, that you should have this beautiful natural lumbar curve with tension in the midline. You understand what your shoulder position should be in relation to your hands on the barbell. Like, those things are just, you're doing them, and you're doing them over and over again. Air squat, whatever it happens to be, they're becoming second nature to you. That's great. You're developing a good grasp on the mechanics. And like I said, a lot of people that have been around for a while would probably benefit from going back and paying a bit more attention to, let's make sure I'm still moving good after 7 years. And should I strip some weight off the bar and just practice, right? So that's mechanics. Once the mechanics are solid, then we move on to the C component, consistency. And we want to see, either in ourselves or our athletes, our friends, our loved ones, whoever it is that we're training, we want to see those mechanics that we've worked so hard on developing hold up consistently. That's why it's mechanics, then consistency, and then intensity. So I don't want to see somebody that their mechanics appear to be great, but then after rep number 7, they're just a dumpster fire, right? We don't want that. We want your mechanics to hold up consistently over a nice long range of repetitions without it degrading. We would like to see mechanics hold up without degradation. If we apply a little bit of loading, we'd like to see the mechanics hold up under some duress, if we apply a little bit of speed, if we apply all of those at the same time, a fair amount of reps, a little bit of loading, and we're pressing the gas pedal just a little bit, how do the mechanics look there? Does the athlete, have they developed that awareness, that kinesthetic awareness, and that muscular stamina and strength to have those mechanics hold up consistently, even under a little bit of fatigue as well? When you start to get tired, do they degrade, or are you able to keep them? If the answer is yes to all of those, mechanics look solid, mechanics are holding up consistently under all the different factors that I just mentioned, then and only then do we move on to step 3, which is intensity. And I said, holding myself to the same standard, I violated this when I first got into CrossFit, didn't know any better, was ignorant to it, wish that I had not done it. Luckily, it didn't cost me. But don't do this with yourselves or your clients. It's not a good long-term gain. So mechanics, consistency, and then intensity. And the intensity that we're talking about could be loading on the bar. We're talking about a heavy day. Or it could be the speed in which you're moving. So it could be load or it could be speed. It could be both, okay? And we also know that there is relative intensity, or there's the intensity that you feel, perceived exertion, if you will. And then there's mathematical intensity, if you're looking into the old CrossFit journals, level 1 seminars, things of that nature, where CrossFit defines intensity as power. And power is force times distance over time equals average power. They're going to say that average power is defined as intensity. So the amount of work that you're doing, force times distance, how quickly you're doing that work, the time component, the average power. As you do more work in the same period of time, or you do a set amount of work faster, well, that's increasing your average power, thereby that's more intensity. Or you've got more loading on the bar in your heavy days, that's more intensity there as well. But you don't want to jump to that, right? Mechanics first, then consistency, then and only then intensity. And that is the path. And remember that intensity, although there's a mathematical part of intensity, which we just mentioned, there's also a non-mathematical part of intensity, which is a critical piece in understanding CrossFit. Again, something I didn't get when I first got into it. And it's a critical piece if you want to have longevity with working out, which is that there is also relative intensity. And that is relative and unique to the individual's psychological and physical tolerances, okay? And that how much intensity each individual can take is a little bit different. So mathematical intensity is universal. Relative intensity is not universal, is unique to the individual. And you have to understand both to have a good, long, sustainable, healthy career as a recreational CrossFitter, a garage athlete, attending your affiliate, whatever it happens to be. So I'll end with this. Everybody, whether you're in year 1 or year 10, you've got to pay attention to mechanics, consistency, and intensity. Most of us would benefit from extra time practicing, extra time working on technique, extra time working on mechanics. Step number 1, right? It's not the stuff that looks sexy on Instagram, just practicing something with an empty barbell, but it's very beneficial. And then I will end with a quote that's so great and phenomenal that I wish I had created, but I did not. So I have to give credit where credit is due. And it's to a phenomenal trainer by the name of Michelle Moots. And Adrian Bosman and I actually interviewed Michelle on the Very Not Random podcast about training special populations, obese, older folks, chronically ill. It was a 2-part podcast that we did with Michelle. So if you haven't seen that, go check that out. It's great. But Michelle said, with regards to that final step, right, mechanics, consistency, intensity, that speed and loading are earned. That's what she says. They are not rights. You don't just suddenly have the right to try to move fast with a bunch of load. No. You earn the right, you earn the privilege, I should say, to use loading and speed because you have demonstrated adequate capacity with mechanics and with consistency. So load and speed are earned. I really like that little synopsis there, and it's something that I think most of us would benefit from. So that's it. Have a wonderful day, and we will talk again later.